Urban legends. They are just that, right? A legend, folklore, a story for bedtime. Most of them are just myths with barely any truth behind them. But some stories are way more real than the rest. And today, I want to talk about three such legends, all originating in India. And the last one might make you paranoid about opening your door after midnight. But before we get into those stories, I want to give you some context. You see, India is a huge country. It's often known as the land of spices and culture. But there's a darker side to this beautiful country. It's also the land of curses and rituals. And so, a lot of these legends that you're gonna hear about now are more about cursed lands or rituals gone wrong than a singular entity. Alright, let's get into it. Late on the night of July 21st, 2023, Radha stood in front of her mirror in her bedroom. The room was pitch black except for a single flickering flame placed under the glass. Radha's heart pounded against her chest as she looked at her reflection. As the clock struck 3, she picked up a box from the dresser, dipped her finger in, and drew a small circle in the corner of the glass. After that, she picked up the candle and began to chant. Just a couple months earlier, Radha had graduated from college and moved back in with her parents in Agra. Almost immediately, her mother started bombarding her with marriage proposals. Now, Radha had never even been in a relationship before, and so the idea of being paraded around potential grooms and their families, strangers who have literally come there to judge her like an interview, scared her. So, when her friend recommended a ritual that can show her the face of her future husband, Radha was tempted. I mean, if she could see what he looked like, she could avoid all those humiliating visits and just find her husband. The rules were simple but strict. At exactly 3 am, close all the blinds in your room and stand before the mirror with a candle in hand. Draw a small circle in the corner of the glass using kajal and then lock eyes with your reflection in the mirror before repeating the mantra thrice. दिखा दिखा आने वाला आईने में तुझको पाना अगर सच्चा हो तो दिखाना और झूठा हो तो कभी ना दिखाना. If done correctly, the mirror reveals the face of your future partner. But stumble over your words and instead of your partner, you see the face of a pret or a restless spirit. Now, Radha started reading about this ritual all over the internet. She went through hundreds of forums, many accounts claiming that this ritual worked for them. She wasn't sure she believed them, but tonight her curiosity won. So at exactly 3 am, Radha shut all the blinds, stood in front of the mirror with a candle, and began to chant. As she was chanting, she could feel her heart pounding against her chest. Once, twice, her voice was shaky, but her words were clear. On the third time, her tongue slipped. The words came out jumbled. She froze in fear, sweat forming on her forehead. She didn't dare look up at the mirror. She knew that if you messed up this ritual, the only way to fix it was to smear the mirror with sindoor or ashes. So she immediately bent down to pick up the sindoor she'd taken from her mom that evening and raised her hand to smear the mirror. But just then, the mirror cracked, and in the jagged shards, she saw it, a face looking back at her. It was pale, its eyes hollow, cheeks sunken in unnaturally. It glared at Radha from behind the glass. She immediately smeared the sindoor all over the broken glass, cutting her hand in the process. As she went to bed that night, she was really uncomfortable, but also grateful that she managed to stop it before it could follow her out. Little did she know, after that night, her life unraveled. The company that had hired her just a couple months ago randomly cancelled her offer. Her scooter was stolen and her house was filled with constant fights. At night, she'd wake up screaming, covered in sweat, the pale face leering at her in her dreams. Finally, desperate enough, she went to a temple. The priest performed a cleansing ritual on her, chanting till dawn, and she finally found some peace. But even now, every time Radha looks in the mirror, she swears she can see a crack forming, almost waiting for her to repeat the mantra again. It's terrifying to think that your own mirror can open the door to something so terrifying. But what if it's not just a single mirror, but an entire village that refuses to rest? Because that's exactly what happens in our next story. But before we get into that, while you're still here, make sure to subscribe because I talk about everything horror, cheaper than an Ouija board, and safer too. Alright, let's get into the story. In the May of 2001, a group of 7 archaeology students, along with their professor, drove towards the ruins of the Kuldhara village in Rajasthan. Their goal was to study how the Pallival Brahmins had once managed to build a thriving civilization in the middle of the Thar desert. Now, Rajasthan has one of the most extreme weather conditions in all of India. Day temperature rises up to a whopping 47 degrees that later drops as the sun sets. Soon, their jeep sputtered to a sudden stop. The professor was the first one to get off. He walked to the front of the jeep and opened the hood, only to be hit with a cloud of smoke from the engine. It had overheated due to the brutal Rajasthani summer. He turned to the students and asked them to pick up their gear as they would have to walk the remaining 4 or 5 kilometers. It was already noon by that time. A walk like this could easily take them more than an hour. But they decided to start the trek anyway. The youngest member of the group, Kanak, wasn't so sure about this. She'd heard stories about the ruins, about whispers and shadows. She tried to talk to her professor about this, but he didn't take her seriously. After all, it was just folklore, he said. As they began their march, it was 12:15 in the noon. By the time they got to the ruin, it was already 1:15. They were all drenched from head to toe, completely covered in sweat and dehydrated. They rested for an hour and then the professor decided that they should use the remaining sunlight to get some work done. Kanak and 3 students went west, while professor and the remaining 3 went east. As the sun began to sink behind the dunes, they all regrouped. There was a banyan tree at the center of the ruins. The villagers whispered that it drank from a step wall buried deep inside. That was the only reason it survived when the rest of Kuldhara turned to dust. That night, they built a small fire under the banyan tree and began discussing their findings. They talked about the irrigation system, the step wells, the houses, everything. As the night grew colder, the professor decided it would be better if they stayed inside one of the Havelis. Even though it was broken, it could still protect them from any type of sand dune or the cold wind passing through. As they lay inside the Haveli, they could clearly see the cold night sky up from the broken roof. Kanak was sitting in one corner of the Haveli, scribbling in her journal about the day, when she heard it. A faint whisper. She turned around and peeked out of the window, and then she saw it. Something moved out in the distance. She couldn't tell what it was, but she knew that there was one or possibly multiple people standing there, watching them. She immediately got up and walked over to her professor, telling him exactly what she saw. Her professor still didn't take her seriously. He was too busy cleaning his shoes that were filled with sand. He looked at Kanak, rolled his eyes, and told her to go to sleep as they have a lot of work to do in the morning. But Kanak was insistent. She kept begging him to just walk over to the window once and peek out. And so, after a while, even though he was still reluctant about it, he followed her to the window. And as he peeked out, he saw them too. Now there wasn't just one or two shadows, now there were multiple, standing in the tree line, just watching. Nearly 200 years ago, in the 1800s, Kuldhara wasn't the ruins that you see today. It was thriving. The Pallival Brahmins had built houses, streets, stepwells, and temples. They had prospered in the middle of a desert. But prosperity often brings envy. The story goes that the Prime Minister of Jaisalmer Salim Singh set his eyes on the daughter of the village chief. Ruthless and obsessed, he told the villagers to either hand over the girl or he would make their lives miserable with taxes. The villagers were horrified. Giving up their daughter was unthinkable, but refusing a prime minister meant certain death. So, faced with an impossible choice, the elders of the village decided to do something drastic. That night, everyone in the village, every man, woman, child, just vanished. Not just from Koldhara, but nearly 84 villages surrounding Koldhara, they all just vanished into the night. No more traces. They left behind empty homes, half cooked meals, and quiet streets. But before they left, it is said that they have put a curse on this town, that no one can ever inhabit this land again. And after that night, no one ever has. People refused to stay in Koldhara after sunset. The travelers who passed at night spoke of whispers and shadows in the dark. Back at the Haveli, the professor was starting to feel really uneasy now. By now, all these activities have notched up a bit. They were hearing whispers, some angry, some agitated, irritated, while others soothing and calm. He rushed back over, waking up all the students who were asleep, asking them to pack up their bags as they were leaving right then. The students, even though confused, decided to obey. But no matter how fast they ran, no matter what route they took, they kept coming back at the banyan tree again and again. This kept happening until dawn when they finally managed to reach their jeep, collapsing in relief and exhaustion. They somehow managed to survive the night, although no one can tell how. As they got back home, they thought that the nightmare was finally over. But in the weeks that followed, strange things began to happen with the members of the group. One of the members broke her ankle by tripping in an empty stairwell of her own hostel. Another one died in a car crash. Even the professor got gravely ill, having a fever that no doctor could link to any infection in his body. Now, all these things can be chalked up to coincidences or stress or maybe just bad luck. But Kanak doesn't agree. She still dreams of the banyan tree and the shadows waiting under it every single night. And that is why the villagers all around Kuldhara always say that Kuldhara never rests, it just waits for its next victim. Late one night in 1992, Raghav lay in his bed, wide awake. No matter what position he lay in, he just couldn't fall asleep. He felt this deep pit in his stomach. Dread. As the clock struck 12 a.m., he heard a knocking sound. He sat up in bed and looked towards the door when he heard his sister call out to him. This was weird. His sister Megha lived in Delhi with her husband and her children. So, what was she doing here in Bengaluru, nearly 2000 kilometers away from her home, in the middle of the night? As strange as it was, he got off the bed and started walking towards the door. Months earlier, Raghav and his family moved into Malleshwaram neighborhood in Bengaluru after his father got transferred for work. The three of them, his parents and he, moved into a villa provided by his father's office. Raghav joined a nearby college and the family soon started to settle in. One afternoon during lunch, Raghav and his friends, who were local to Bengaluru, were discussing the various charms and nuances of the city. When Raghav mentioned that he moved into the Malleshwaram neighborhood, the group suddenly went silent. Raghav felt this deep pit in his stomach, but it wasn't dread necessarily, more like anxiety. He thought his neighborhood wasn't as fancy or rich as his classmates, and so, not knowing what to do and feeling extremely insecure, he just scratched his head awkwardly and chuckled. What is it? Did I say something wrong? His friends looked at each other for a moment before one of them asked, Have you ever seen her? Now, Raghav had no idea who his friends were referring to. Reading his subtle confusion, his friends elaborated, The Nalleba witch, have you ever seen her? As soon as the word witch left his friend's mouth, Raghav rolled his eyes. He was a skeptic, a big time skeptic. He didn't believe in rituals, witches, anything paranormal. And so he was like, is this some kind of a joke? Because it's not funny. But his friends were dead serious. They asked him if he'd ever noticed that all the houses in his neighborhood had the words Nalleba written on their doors or walls in red ink. Now Raghav did notice that, but he never took it seriously. So that evening, when he went home, he asked his father if he knew about any of this. And to his surprise, his father said yes. When they'd moved in, most of the neighbors tried to tell his father about this witch and that he had to write the phrase Nalleba on the door for their own protection. But his father, just like Raghav, was also a skeptic, and so he decided to ignore their warnings. In the 1990s, young men in the Malleshwaram neighborhood began dying randomly. They would go to bed healthy and normal at night, and the next morning they'd be dead. Now, the creepy part about all of this was that all these men died of one of the two causes, either a heart attack or vomiting up blood, which is basically internal bleeding. Initially, all the people in the neighborhood thought that maybe there was some disease spreading around. But what kind of a disease only affects men? Young men at that. If you think about it, diseases spread easily among older folks and children. Young men are the healthiest subset in that regard. And so, this was very abnormal. This wasn't a normal epidemic. This wasn't a normal disease. Soon, the local elders came to a realization that a witch was roaming the streets looking for her husband. Every night, she'd walk up to a door, knock, and call out to the men inside in a voice of someone that they cared about. This could be their wives or sisters or even their mothers. If you opened the door, she said to have snatched your soul, dooming you to either die immediately or within the next 24 hours. Now, this was terrifying because it was said that on the third knock, it was almost impossible to resist her allure. The elders soon came up with a plan of writing Nalleba, which translates directly to come tomorrow in English. They started writing this phrase all over their doors or walls, and it worked. The witch would simply come, read the phrase, and leave. And she'd come over again the next day, repeating the cycle over and over again. That's how the legend of the Nalleba witch came into existence. Back in the present, months passed and nothing changed. Raghav's father still didn't write the phrase on his walls. He thought it was just utter nonsense or bullshit, in his own words. All that continued until that night when Raghav heard the knock on his door. As he walked closer and closer to the door, he could feel his heart pounding against his chest. He reached for the doorknob, and suddenly the hair on the back of his neck stood up. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to get away from the door and to not, under any circumstance, open it. Just then, there was the third knock, and his sister's voice came through, desperate, almost pleading. Bhaiya, darwaza kholo, kya kar rahe ho? Something inside Raghav snapped. He grabbed the doorknob, and just as he was about to twist it, he felt a wrenching grip on his hand. He looked up to see his father, his face pale, eyes wide with fear. I just talked to Megha this morning, he whispered. She isn't here, she's in Delhi. Just then, they both heard it, receding footsteps and a small giggle. The very next morning, Raghav's father, with the help of some local, immediately wrote the phrase outside his walls. And after that, they never really heard any knockings. But to this day, Raghav still thinks about what could have happened had his father not woken up from the knocking. Wow, that was my first video. Well, technically it was my second, but that was a lot of fun. I love researching and talking about all these ghosts and mysteries. And if you find that interesting too, maybe drop a comment down below to tell me what you'd like me to talk about next. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Alright, until next time, bye YouTube.